Thank you very much, Peter. You can tell from our embrace that we love each other. It's probably because of that Peter was able to take one more risk, this time with me. He's already illustrated that I didn't convey comfortable information or thoughts or suggestions to him. I don't come to you pretending that I have it all together and I know exactly how to build a kingdom company. I am actually on a journey like you are. We all go to the same source for food and for wisdom. So I'm there with you. What I can do is share with you some of my own observations, ideas that may or may not apply to your work situation. I have PowerPoints I will use, and I will probably go through the PowerPoints more quickly than I had anticipated. But let me also tell you that I will be putting more detail into the PowerPoints and will make them available to you with detail as well as translation. Let me say a little bit about me first. I retired from being deputy minister in one of the provinces of Canada in 1993. And I thought what I was going to do is move to a quiet community and not really do very much except golf. That lasted for less than a day. And it wasn't my doing. I was asked to take on a major consulting project. I did. But through it, I also learned that for a Christian, there is no such thing as retirement. I might not make the money I did, but that has nothing to do with following God's call. And so I got myself into some situations where rather than being the teacher, I actually became the learner. And one thing led to the next, and I was asked to take responsibility at the university for a program I'll tell you a little bit about. I don't think anything has changed my life more. I want to tell you that I am absolutely passionate about leadership. I am so passionate about it that even my wife has to listen to it every day. Which is dangerous. I will say as a footnote, 4 months from now we will be celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary. And I would like another 50. I have also through this developed a tremendous love for China. I can't go into the details of the journey that brought me to where I am. But I had students from China who were saying, what you're teaching is something China desperately needs. And I made a number of trips, and I've been to China probably more than 35 times by now. And something God has impressed upon me is that He has called me to serve China by making a contribution towards development of business leaders. Definitely Christians, but also not restricted to Christians. And I have a dream, which is that through the learning that business leaders do, through the program, they will increase their contribution to the nation and will be a blessing to the country. But my dream doesn't stop there. It also includes China becoming a blessing, a greater blessing to the world. And it could even include bringing some of that and dropping it off in Vancouver. Because I'm not here telling you about something that is so grossly lacking in China and everything is in place in Canada. It isn't. When we talk about leadership, we are talking about something much more than culture and cultural differences. And so my few comments really rise above it. For whatever reason, it doesn't want to move. Okay. What I'm going to be saying a little bit about is our program, which is an MA in Business Leadership. And I will make but a few comments to give you a little bit of a taste of what we are teaching and what we are actually doing with Peter's company. Okay. We are part of Trinity Western University, based in Vancouver, Canada. We are a small Christian private university. We have fewer than 5,000 students. We are ranked the #1 university in Canada of its size with students in all Canadian universities. And we have been ranked that way for the last 5 years. We are the only private university from Canada that has been recognized and accredited by the Chinese government. The program that we are delivering in China is an extension of a proven 12-year-old leadership program in Canada. 4 years ago, we chose to extend it into China and tailoring it to the Chinese context. Let me say a little bit about how we got to teach what we teach. My personal view is that when we go back to 2008 and we talk about a global financial crisis, it really was not a financial crisis. First, it was a leadership crisis. And I think in a lot of ways that is what we still have. And if we don't do something about it, we will find ourselves in deeper trouble yet. Someone has already indicated that when we go to university, and we get management degrees, we get them in how to do things very nicely with technology. Do things correctly, plan, identify the problem. This is what you need to fix, this is how you do it, this is how you'll know when you've done it well. But guess what's missing? People. And what we find in a lot of businesses around the world today is employees who are demotivated, disempowered, and misused, and not really making a significant contribution to the well-being of the company. Human nature, which is selfish, doesn't help. So we have in many ways bred a new culture that focuses on money and greed. And I hear a lot about that in China. Leadership acknowledges the importance of technical skills, but it also says simultaneously the value of people comes #1. Research has indicated that businesses with leaders who do that are actually outperforming businesses that don't get good leadership. There's lots of research to support that, and I could give you a lot of evidence to that effect. That is why we have bought into leadership to the degree we have. I can tell you also that we are strongly anchored in biblical values. Biblical values from a leadership perspective, in my view, are also universal values. God as creator of people, created people with a certain design to need certain things and to do better under what conditions. We just need to discover them and relate to them. The whole Bible, to my way of looking at it, looks at people. First of all, God's relationship to people. And he's got specific instructions about what we as his believers do with other people. And ultimately, everything evolves around people in this world that works. It boils down to people relationships. From a leadership point of view, it boils down to the quality of the relationship between the leader and the led. And Jesus is a wonderful model for us to follow. I say also that when we read scriptures and we see how we are expected to build relationships, relationships of trust, that we see what kind of obligations we have towards other people. The obligations I have towards Peter. Scriptures doesn't teach that if Peter doesn't do certain things, I don't have to. I am obligated to practice trust-building relationship development, regardless of what Peter does. Peter is, however, great at that. I love working with Peter. These are unconditional requirements. Interesting also, if I am at the receiving end, I can't go forward and say I'm entitled to get good relationship building support from Peter. I'm just responsible for myself. I'm not responsible for Peter. You with me? Give you a personal example. If I have good relationship skills and I have no authority over people, will people follow me? Sure they will. If I am in a position of authority as a leader, I have the same responsibilities that I did when I did not have authority. But they get more complicated because I have authority. I'm not excused in any way because I have authority. The standard goes up. Scriptures teach that we have special additional responsibilities when we become stewards over people, our employees. It's easy to talk about relationship skills and relationship values. It's another thing to practice them. I don't stand here as somebody who has it all put together, because I don't. But it is important for me to be committed to following through. I cannot simply say that I believe in something and then somehow think I can put the car into cruise control and it will get to destination. It doesn't happen that way. So the goal of our program is to understand a quality relationship between a leader and the led, and to make it a goal of ours to help leaders learn how to do it. We have identified 7 values that we call relationship values, or we could call them trust-building values. for leaders. If a leader actually practices them and follows through behaviorally or is seen to try, it makes a difference. We also make the assumption that the leader needs to believe those values. They are not values they accept in order to manipulate people into making profits for the company. To make them think there's a good relationship when in fact they're just being used. It comes from the heart. It needs to come from the heart. We call what we teach by way of relationship values the foundation of transformational servant leadership, and I'll just mention a little bit about it. You'll notice the first one is humility. A leader needs to be a humble person. They need to be realistic about their strengths and their weaknesses and be comfortable relying on other people who are more skilled than themselves. They are not people who have a need to retain control. Love. It sounds fuzzy, doesn't it? Love is a choice. Love is a choice to put value on people. Value on people like God puts value on people. That means we care. That means we respect our employees regardless of what color they are, what they think, or what they believe. We forgive. Paul has already mentioned that. But forgiveness means taking the guilt off their shoulders so that they can have freedom to think about how to do better with it next time. Serve. Jesus came to serve. He didn't come to rule. But look at the influence he had. Still does. And will. A leader is a steward over the working conditions of the employees so that they can reach their potential. That is a very, very high calling. And we therefore provide them with the supports to get there. That's an obligation I have as a leader. Collaborative. As a leader, if I don't have all the skills, I look for the skills among my employees to work with them. I actually need them. I don't lose influence by working with more of my junior staff. I gain influence. Integrity. I say and do what I mean, and I mean what I say and do. My word. Courage. When people resist doing right, I don't flee. I don't compromise. I persevere. Scriptures teach about the need for us to persevere. Not easy for a leader to do. And the last one is excellence. I believe that God calls us as leaders to continue to grow. We have not arrived because we became CEOs. That may actually be the beginning of learning. It was for me. So am I committed to continue to grow? Do I learn? I'll speed along now with other key points. I could give you many illustrations about how those values get applied in a day-to-day work situation, but we don't have the time to do it. What I will tell you is, if you're serious about practicing those values in practical ways, I think there are key areas in your organization that you want to take a look at to see if you are actually following through on your word. You look for certain evidence to confirm in your own minds that I must be doing something right. The first one is, and I could also say that since that is what we look for, we have also made the learning of that core of our program learning process. If those are key areas of evidence, then we want our leaders who graduate to become good at it. They are these. They will know how to build trust, loyalty, and harmony with employees. And they will learn specific ways to do it. Those are some of the things that we are doing with Peter's company and Peter's team right now. We will also be helping our students learn how to structure an organization or a business in terms of decision-making authority. Time is out. I will stop there. Simply say if you're interested in knowing more, you're free to touch base with me. I have other team members here. We have testimonials. God's been great. I'll just conclude with a comment. About a third of our students coming into the program are not believers. Almost all of them have become believers before they graduate. And that's because the instructors walk the talk. I want to thank you for giving me this time. Peter, thank you for your generosity.